Hello and welcome. I'm Amritanshu Rai. You're watching Law of the Land on Rajya Sabha TV. Today we will discuss why the Supreme Court quashed the government's decision to provide reservation to the Jat community. To discuss the issue, I have with me Dr. Vijendra Mehdia, Advocate, Supreme Court, and Mr. Rajkumar Yadav, Advocate, Supreme Court, and the one who represented Ram Singh, the petitioner against Jat reservations. Now for the headlines. The Supreme Court quashes the government's decision to provide reservation to the Jat community. The apex court says backwardness of a caste must be decided on the basis of social status along with economic status. The court also ruled that the inclusion of politically organized Jat community in the reservation category is not fair to other backward classes. The Supreme Court quashed Centre's decision to give reservation to the Jat community living across 9 states in the country. The judgment said that a backwardness of a caste must be primarily decided on the basis of the social status along with economic status.
The Jat community pressurized the government into granting them reservation by threatening to bring the country to a standstill through protests and demonstrations. The government had notified reservations for the Jats in March 2014. The apex court struck down the notification granting reservations to the Jat community. Now the Jat community have been deprived of benefits like reservation in the central government jobs and admissions to central government-run educational institutions in 9 states.
The UPA government included the Jats in the central list of backward classes. We feel that the Jat community is not a backward. That is why we went to the Supreme Court and filed our petition against that decision.
The government had notified reservation for the Jat community in 9 states. These states include Bihar, Gujarat, Haryana, Himachal Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, National Capital Territory of Delhi, Bharatpur and Dholpur districts of Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand.
When you include different communities in the same category called OBC, this has become a problem within the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe also. That within those official categories, these are official classifications, these are statutory categories, scheduled caste or OBCs, these are not traditional caste groups. So within scheduled caste, there are hundreds of communities. Each state has its own list of scheduled castes. Similarly, OBCs also, there are a large number of people. So within that, there are obviously some communities which qualify to be very backward. And if you add communities which are relatively forward and they compete with each other, it's obviously the ones who are really backward would lose out because they don't have resources, they have not had the kind of networks these relatively upper backward castes would have.
Several individuals, associations and organizations had requested the National Commission for Backward Classes to include Jats in the central list for backwards. Ram Singh and OBC Arakshan Raksha Samiti filed the writ petition against the government, which was praying for inclusion of Jats in the reservation list of the other backward caste last year. The apex court scrapped reservation for Jats in the 9 states in March 2015. The Supreme Court's decision on taking away reservation from the Jat community is welcomed by other backward classes, as the other backward classes fear dominance from politically strong communities such as Jats after their inclusion in the backward classes. With cameraman Sanjay Kumar, Dipali Pandit for Rajya Sabha Television.
Maintaining that they are a farming community, Jat leaders say their people are struggling to earn their livelihood as their land holdings have diminished over the last few years. They also claim that there is a sharp dip in agricultural productivity due to which community is facing economic hardship. My question begins with you, sir. The judgment has said whatever it has had to say. But the point that was being made by sir there, that it has to be socially, after rejecting them, the court went on to say that any community which has to be included in OBCs has to be socially backward and also economically backward. Do you think that's an advancement?
Supreme Court in the judgment has clearly pointed out the criteria which is earlier set out by the Mandal Commission. Mandal Commission, and thereafter the judgment on Mandal Commission, that was Indira Sahni, 3 points were given by the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Social backwardness, backwardness, educational backwardness, and economic backwardness. And 3 of the criteria they have been given the numbers. 3 points for the social backwardness, 2 points for the educational backwardness, and only 1 point was given to the economic backwardness. Jats were fighting only for the economic backwardness, that is the 1 point. That was rejected by the Supreme Court. Because the Jats, as per the judgment of the Supreme Court, Jats are not a economically backwardness. Social backwardness is the far-reaching things for them. They are not a socially outcasted, socially deprived from the to achieve the natural resources, and they are not socially backward.
So on the 3 bars that you pointed out, the 3 criterias, they did not qualify for the 2 criterias according to the Supreme Court, but qualified for 1. And that was the basis why Supreme Court in its judgment felt that they should be kept away from.
I say like this, the Supreme Court has rejected all 3 criteria of them, not only educational, social, even economic criteria of the claimed by the judges have also been rejected by the Supreme Court.
You would like to add to this, sir?
Please. Here, this judgment of the Supreme Court which you are talking about today opens the new era rather in the field of the reservation. Number 1, Article 15 and Article 16 speaks about the socially and educational backwardness as far as economic also is concerned. But this judgment has added 2 more things. This judgment has even given the definition of the backwardness. And backwardness, if I use the words of the judgment, backwardness is the manifestation of the several independent circumstances, and which may be a social, economical, educational, and cultural and political has been added to here by the Supreme Court.
Okay.
Yes, this is the judgment has given the new definition of the backwardness here.
So the OBC, effectively, the OBC criteria, where there were just 3 criteria,
Yes.
have now been advanced, and political, and the other you said
Cultural and political both.
2 more points have been added to the already existing 3 points that were
Yes.
earlier. So now it becomes, after the judgment, culturally, culture becomes 1, political becomes 1, educational becomes 1, economical becomes 1, and social becomes 1. So the now parameters have been increased from 3 to 5.
To 5.
Correct, sir? Is that
Now, one
the
more
proper understanding?
Actually, the 3 criteria, which is my learned friend, 2 more criteria, which is my learned friend has explained, that was, according to him, added by the Supreme Court. So, politically and culturally. Politically and culturally, these criteria has already included in the social backwardness. These criteria is not separate entity. So, politically and culturally, they are included in socially backwardness.
So what you say?
But Supreme Court has not included, Supreme Court has widened the criteria
For definition of backwardness.
Backwardness, such type the person, the third gender, third gender included, and other socially backward persons, those were not included in SC and ST or OBC communities
Any
should
category.
also be included there. Those were left out, including the third gender or such type of beggars and other things. They should also be included. This criteria is added, not politically and culturally.
So, so your reading of the judgment, according to Mr. Yadav here, is that it is part of the social thing. So the criteria has originally remained 3. But coming down to the point, sir, the implication, because this was a wide movement spread over 20 years, the Jats had been struggling, demonstrating, pressurizing, lobbying, making all attempts to get into the OBC reservation class. The government went ahead and also allowed that to happen. But this year in March 2015, the court quashes it. Implication of it on the Jats. Now, what do you see happening next?
Yes. Let me complete as far as the implication of the judgment is concerned. Before I come to the opinion of the government and the social backwardness of the Jats class in India and in 9 states specifically, let me clarify one more thing has been done in this judgment. Number one, historical injustice has been overruled. Now, historical injustice is no more the criteria for the backwardness. Second thing, whatever has come out, number one, the Supreme Court has clearly observed that no exclusion, hardly exclusion had taken place as far as the list of the OBCs are concerned in India.
The list.
List.
So no
Hardly.
exclusions. So the court is in favor of more exclusions based on these criteria and parameters.
Exclusion. But as far as this thing is concerned, newly emerging fields are concerned, newly criterias are concerned, then how to identify these newly emerging trends or emerging criterias of the backwardness in society, how to identify it? Now I come to the points. There are three: socially, educationally and economically. These three criterias are there, upon which the Mandal Commission also has studied and given certain marks to the communities, and it was opined that these many, if the certain class is fulfilling these criteria, they can be put into the category of backwardness. Now, I raise a question through your channel here, which to my opinion has not been taken care of, whether the educational backwardness of any caste does not have any linkage or any connection with the social backwardness. Let me clarify. Educational nowadays in this society, if a person is educationally backward, then he is being seen in the society as far as the backward person is there. You will appreciate that 12% the children between the age of 6 to 14 in the Haryana states never attended the schools.
You want to add to that?
My learner friend has contended and controverting the judgment that the Haryana 12% to 15% of the children, they are uneducated, but he has not clarified which community or which caste or which group they are uneducated. I say, as far as the judgment is concerned.
No, let me clarify. This is Jats.
As far as the
Jats
judgment,
children I'm talking.
As far
They are
as
talking of Jat.
As far as he's talking. As far as judgment is clear, on the basis of NCBC's report is concerned, Jat are more educated than the national average. Their education percentage is 89 point some point is there, 89, and whereas the national percentage, national education of these age group is only 79 or 73%. They are 10% above the.
Got it. The point you have made is time for us to head into a short break. Coming up, the Supreme Court maintains that Jats are not backward in any which way and does not merit reservation. Welcome back. The Supreme Court in its judgment says that Jats are not backward, be it socially, economically, or even politically. It also ruled that the inclusion of politically organized castes like Jats in the OBC category will not be fair for other backward classes.
The judgment states that although National Commission for Backward Classes advice had to be normally binding on the central government, but if it chooses to differ, there must be sustainable reason for it. The Apex Court held that determination of backward classes must be relative. It clarified that gates for inclusion will be open for the most distressed, and any other inclusion would be serious abdication of the constitutional duty of the state.
पॉलिटिकल स्ट्रॉन्ग सिर्फ 2-4 लोग ही हो सकते हैं, ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा 8-10 हो जाएंगे, और ये सभी जातियों में है। कोई भी ऐसी जाति नहीं है जिसमें पॉलिटिकल स्ट्रॉन्ग लोग नहीं रहे हों, चाहे वो बहुजन समाज पार्टी से आप ले लीजिए या और दूसरी किसी भी जाति से आप ले लीजिए, जिनको ऑलरेडी इलेक्शन मिला हुआ है उनमें भी पॉलिटिकल स्ट्रॉन्ग लोग बाग हैं, चाहे वो यादव हैं या और भी हैं। लालू प्रसाद यादव आप लगा लीजिए, मायावती आप लगा लीजिए, और कितनी जातियों के मैं नाम गिनाऊं कि सभी में पॉलिटिकल स्ट्रॉन्ग सभी जातियाँ हैं। ऐसी कोई जाति आज तक नहीं है कि जो पॉलिटिकल स्ट्रॉन्ग ना हो, क्योंकि चाहे वो छोटी हो या बड़ी हो, पॉलिटिकल स्ट्रॉन्ग होने से उसकी जाति पे जो आरक्षण का जो पैमाना है उस पर फर्क नहीं पड़ता है।
The Supreme Court judgment has impact on the reservation policy as it not only clarified the existing criteria laid down in previous pronouncements but also prescribed fresh yardsticks. The court ruled that social backwardness will be the main criteria which will be observed by the central or state government before including any class into the list of OBC. Identification of new social groups such as transgender is one of the criteria clarified in the judgment. The judgment also made clear that those groups will be excluded from the reservation list that are currently better off. It also stated that decisions like reservation are of grave importance and should be taken on the basis of contemporary data and not outdated or antiquated data.
Backward caste, the OBC reservation or other backward classes reservation was to, in a sense, add to the reservation that was already given to the scheduled castes. Now, this was basically meant on the same criteria, but it was meant for communities that were on the borderline. They were not below the pollution line, but they were not really far above. But once it is opened up, then there is a kind of competition. So it becomes available to communities that are politically powerful, but they see it as a kind of useful tool to kind of gain space within the system. So I think Supreme Court has a point in it that any community who can politically mobilize itself and wants to be called as backward class or backward caste would not automatically qualify simply because they want to make this claim. So I think it has to be based on some kind of objective criteria which is identifiable critically, and that is social and educational backwardness.
The court agreed that caste has been a prominent and distinguishing factor for easy determination of backwardness of a social group, but it said that courts have been consistently discouraging the identification of groups as backward on the basis of caste alone. The Supreme Court in its judgment laid down new norms for identification of backward classes for the benefits of reservation. The Supreme Court said that the social backwardness should be the main criteria for granting OBC status. With cameraman Sanjay Kumar, Dipali Pandit for Rajya Sabha Television.
Jat leaders feel that the senseless consumerism of the creamy layer have painted a wrong picture of the economic status of the entire community. I'll come to you. First question, sir. And very quickly, we need to understand this. In the judgment, do you feel that somewhere or the other the court or the judgment has hinted about an attempt to start excluding from the OBC, from the existing OBCs that are there? If this judgment was to be applied in retrospective effect, how many castes do you think would be thrown out of the reservation criteria?
See, as far as the throwing away of the caste is concerned, there are the criteria you have to go into the survey. How many castes are there? Because to me,
there are 3,200 castes. There are 3,200 castes in the OBC category. My question is, do you feel that the judgment is opening a Pandora's box and is hinting if these criteria and parameters that have been stated in the judgment right now, in this judgment, if they were supposed to be implemented in letter and spirit, how many of the 3,200 or 3,300 castes that are part of the OBC will start seeing exclusion?
Yes, I come first way, straight way I come to my learned friend. Straight way I come to the Ahirs and Yadavs. Straight way, they need the exclusion. Why? And I have the data there. I can have the data that 1.7% graduates are there as far as the Jats are concerned, but 3% are the Ahirs. 3%. I took out these metrics from the judgment itself. And if you go into the UP itself, UP state 0.02% are the graduate rather criteria for postgraduate, and these are 0.7%. Now I come to, now
Yeah.
let
Please,
me
please,
complete
please.
this education part first. I just now said that 12% Jats children 6 to 14 years never attended the school as far as the Haryana is concerned. 29% of the population in the Rajasthan, the Jats are illiterate between the range of the 6 to 59 years I am talking about.
But the attempt was to get nine states under
nine states are
So
there.
why couldn't they just focus on one state or a few other states where the Jats were really backward? Was that
The
possible?
literary rate is all the same. Literary rate of the Jats in all the states is for more or less is the same. They are, and this thing, let me, this is the Supreme Court's observation as far as the National Commission for the Backward Class is also. This is the observation in the NCBC report as well as of the Supreme Court, that there are more dropouts of the children of the Jats in the schools, and what the plea was given, what the support was given to that they have to look after their lands. That's why they are dropping out from the school.
Now I'll
I
get
ask
Mr.
a
Yadav.
question.
I'll get Mr. Yadav in. Mr. Yadav, he made a clear thing that if this judgment was to be applied, and if someone, any citizen in this country feels that the criteria has been broadened, expanded, why not start the exclusion process? Let's file a petition and initiate the exclusions. He also clearly stated who the exclusions could be. How do you respond to that? Because that's a huge ramification of this judgment. This is a huge ramification of this judgment, because somewhere or the other courts are initiating debate and discussion on exclusion.
NCBC Act 1993 has the criteria of inclusion and exclusion also. Every 11 year, after every 11 year, there is a process of revision of the OBC list, which is given by the Mandal Commission or central government or the respective states. They have given the criteria how to exclude them. If there is a census on this point and the criteria set out by the government, if the government or any other organization got the criteria or got the criteria of backwardness and the forwardness, educationally and socially backwardness, they can apply to the NCBC. That is the one point my learner friend said, that some community is to be excluded. If they have any number, any data from any source, authentic source, which should be an authentic source. My learned friend is talking about the data given in the NCBC, in the judgment, which is given by the NCBC in his own report.
There is no fresh data, there is just one. That was way back.
Or that data was given by the Jats itself in Hukum Singh's judgment. Hukum Singh committee report in Uttar Pradesh. The Hukum Singh committee report was given to the Rajnath Singh government when the Rajnath Singh was the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, which was given only to facilitate the Jats in reservation in Uttar Pradesh.
Moving on, my colleague Deepali Pandit spoke to Chaudhry Hawa Singh Sangwan, Haryana President Akhil Bharatiya Jat Arakshan Sangharsh Samiti, to get his point of view.
The Supreme Court said that the backwardness of a caste should be decided on the basis of social status and economic status. What do you have to say about this?
I agree with this, but I want to know and I want to say why this criteria apply for Jat only. As per the Mandal Commission reports, more than 3,000 castes have been confirmed with OBC status. Why is, this criteria was not applied for them? Why for Jat only?
Do you think inclusion of Jats in backward classes would affect the rest of the backward classes?
No, never. Nothing. There, I really told that more than 3,716 castes have been conferred as OBC status by the Mandal Commission. More than 3,000. Then when one Jat is, in case the Jat is included in this, how can other castes will suffer? For on what ground? This is only propaganda, Some people are propagating such things to misguide the society, otherwise it's nothing.
Thank you, sir, for joining us on this discussion. It's time for us to end the show. You can email your suggestions and comments to law.rstv@gmail.com. You can also watch our shows on the RSTV page of YouTube. We'll be back with a new issue and a new episode. Keep watching Raj Sabha TV.